really want to yield to any of my colleagues and ask them if they will say today, very basically, that when it came down to the war in Ukraine, that it was not Ukraine that invaded Russia, it was the other way around. Is there anybody in here that has enough courage to say that Russia invaded Ukraine?
You can have my time.
And this is yet the problem. This is the problem. That is not infringing upon free speech.
Will the gentlelady yield?
You just watched one of the most uncomfortable moments from this hearing. A simple question was put to the room, one that many would expect to have an obvious answer. But what happened next is exactly why this exchange is getting so much attention online. Was it politics, strategy, or something else entirely? Let's break down the full exchange and let you decide for yourself.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. It's so interesting to me that we all swear an oath to the Constitution, and we say that we take that oath seriously, but when it comes into actually doing something that looks like preserving that oath or looks like preserving the Constitution, we get a little wobbly, and I'm not really understanding what's going on. Freedom of press doesn't look like kicking out the Washington Post, or actually the Huffington Post has been kicked out. We know that the Associated Press has been kicked out, and now the Washington Post is not going to allow for op-eds in any way if for some reason they criticize the sitting president of the United States. What this is starting to feel like is a smaller version of Russia. And I am trying to tell you that we are nothing like Russia. We are not supposed to be like Russia, but that is what we've got going on. And I'm sorry, I know that some of my colleagues still struggle with answering the question of who won the election in 2020. And you may have felt a way when you had social media checking people and saying, no, Trump did not win the election in 2020. That is absolutely factual. And unfortunately, because some people got all riled up because they believed the lies, they ended up getting locked up because they decided that they were going to believe the lies. They ended up at the Capitol on January 6th, and they were trying to tear this thing apart because they felt like their country was falling apart in front of their eyes because for whatever reason, there were people in power that were peddling a lie about the election. We also know, and some of y'all may still say that COVID was a hoax. COVID wasn't a hoax. Tell that to the over 1 million people that died under Donald Trump's first watch. It wasn't a hoax. So no, I do believe that it was okay. In fact, I do believe that it was ethically right for social media to check people because you had people that didn't know anything about science and decided that they were going to put out whatever lies or propaganda or conspiracy theories they wanted to, and people died. At some point in time, we have to evaluate what is factual, and I know that facts hurt y'all, and I just wish we could get on the same page, but we do know during the presidential election that the president would not go and participate in anything if fact-checking was going to be a part of it, because he didn't want to be fact-checked. We know that the vice president got upset in his vice presidential debate when he was fact-checked. It used to be a time in this country that we as members of Congress or elected officials thought that it was okay to just tell the truth. Instead, we're pushing conspiracy theories, and some of them are killing people. It's the same thing that we have coming out of Doge. It's the reason that people are dying. It's the reason that farmers are losing their farms, because we continue to peddle conspiracy theories. It is time for us to say, Mr. President, guess what? Russia invaded Ukraine. Can we at least agree on that one? Facts matter. Y'all, this is literally potentially putting us into an international crisis. We may be heading towards the next world war because we have a president that wants to pal around with Putin and wants to do everything to make him feel good, including lying about who invaded who. Mr. Chair, I got a minute left, but I really want to yield to any of my colleagues and ask them if they will say today, very basically, that when it came down to the war in Ukraine, that it was not Ukraine that invaded Russia, it was the other way around. Is there anybody in here that has enough courage to say that Russia invaded Ukraine?
You can have my time.
And this is yet the problem. This is the problem. That is not infringing upon free speech.
Will the gentlelady yield?
I will yield to the right.
Thank you, Ms. Crockett. To be clear, your challenge, I think, was across the aisle, because I think every member on your side of the aisle agrees with the obvious fact that Vladimir Putin ordered the filthy, bloody, imperialistic invasion of Ukraine. And in fact, at the time, Donald Trump as president never denied it. In fact, he praised it. He said it was, quote, an act of genius when Putin ordered the invasion of Ukraine. So I would hope some of our colleagues would consent to at least that historical point, since we think history is so important. There are people who want to relive that in our oversight report.
And therein lies the problem.
The time of the general.
So interestingly enough, we also, when Jasmine Crockett put the opportunity to the floor for anybody to, outwardly say, do we agree that Russia invaded Ukraine? Not a word, not one person. Well, there was one person who said it very, very faintly, but I don't believe it was on the GOP side. But not a word from anybody. That right there should tell you without a shadow of a doubt what's taking place. No one is speaking for themselves. Everybody is getting their talking points from Donald Trump. And the reason as to why we know that is because prior to Donald Trump being elected, go and take a look at a lot of these GOP members and the things that they were saying in regards to Ukraine. You can see that so many of them were massive supporters of what Ukraine were doing, were massive supporters of financially, helping and providing support for Ukraine. Now we're seeing something completely different. And this is a very, very, very telling sign. Now, I don't care what no one says. If that to you doesn't prove that Russia is now the people who are in charge of the GOP, guys, I don't know what else to tell you. Like, if these people really, really wanted to, they could have easily put, Jasmine Crockett's points to bed, and they could have said, yes, that's exactly what Putin did, but they didn't. Not one person had the courage to say, you know what, F Donald Trump. Putin is the person who invaded Ukraine. Not one of them had the courage to be able to do that. And it's quite embarrassing. But as you guys can probably tell on this channel, I'm a massive fan of Jasmine Crockett. As a guy who sits overseas and just pays attention to what's going on in America. Yes, it confuses me. A lot of things confuse me because I'm literally seeing a political cult take place, and people who are meant to be fighting for their constituents, who are meant to be fighting for the country, are literally putting all of that aside, and they're listening to their orange demigod and following whatever it is that he says. Whatever it is that he says is what has to go. And that's exactly what's taking place right now. Really, really worrying times. But let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section. Do you think that Russia really does have a strong hold on the GOP, on the Republican Party? What is it that you think Donald Trump, is hiding that Putin has? What is it? Or do you think there's something that Donald Trump wants to do, i.e. ulterior motives, and he needs Putin help to be able to do that? Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section below this video. Until then, I'll see you in the next one.
At the heart of this exchange wasn't just a debate over Ukraine. It was a debate over political accountability. Jasmine Crockett challenged her colleagues to publicly state a widely accepted fact about who initiated the war, and the responses or lack of them became the defining moment of the hearing. Whether you see that silence as political discipline, strategic caution, or something more significant is ultimately up to you. But moments like these are exactly why congressional hearings matter. They give the public a chance to watch elected officials respond to difficult questions in real time and draw their own conclusions. What do you think? Was this simply party politics at work? Or did this exchange reveal something more? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.